Today morning reading, we are reading from 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse number 43 onwards. Let's offer prayers together. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Sutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityananda Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashadare Shasarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Text number 43. Sharyam te judate dakshyam yudhe chapi apalayanam Dhanam Ishvara Bhavascha Shatram Karma Swabhavajam. Everyone can recite together loudly when we do that. So, what are the. Okay, हो गया अभी जब अगली बार पढ़ेंगे साथ में करना. That's the meaning I have. So, we're now talking about Varna plus Ashram. Chaturvidha, not Chaturvarnyam, Maya Shastram, Guna, Karma, Vibhagashaha, as Lord Krishna says in the 4th chapter. So, now how? According to the modes, these are classified. What are the qualities? So you will see Swabhavajan. So for all of this, Swabhavajan means born of his own nature. Nature of what? Modes of material nature. So Brahmanas, text number 42, let's recite. Shamodamastapa saucham shante arjavam evacha Jnanam Jnanamasikyam Brahma Karma Swabhavajam. In other words, you can say these are mode of goodness symptoms. Who has predominance of mode of goodness, he will have what? He will have peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, religiousness. These are the symptoms of goodness. Predominance. And who has which means Raju and Tamaguna is very nil. And that such a person is called as Brahmana. Alright. Now, when you have goodness and passion involved, then comes text number 43. Shauryam te judate daksham yude chapi apalayanam Dhanam Ishvara Bhavascha Shatram Karma Swabhavajam. Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. So, because there is a mode of passion involved, so there is need for name, fame, recognition. Therefore, the king would be welcomed. Aa rahe hain, tun 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 tun. Band baja ke sang. They need that. Otherwise, they cannot function. Why? If in a case, let me decode Vedic culture for all of you. Now, why Kshatriyas were allowed to have many queens? Why? Because they needed that constant inspiration. Aap hamare Prabhu hain, aap hamare Prabhu hain, aap hamare Prabhu hain. That was needed. Why there was a need of poets glorifying the kings? Because they needed that push. They needed that, inspiration to act. What is mode of passion? Mode of passion is puja la pratishtha. You cannot function without it. But this is not entirely passion. This is goodness mixed with passion. So there's a heroism, power, determination. Determination comes from goodness. Resource and courage in battle, generosity, these all things. So like that it is. Now when you talk about Brahmanas, now if you're talking mode of goodness, text number 42 was discussed. Now, anything? Oh, question later on. I thought you had something to say technically. What was I making a point? Now you talk about Brahmanas. Now Brahmanas, in mode of goodness, there is no need for puja la pratishtha. They're content. They're satisfied. Therefore, they don't need to get married. Therefore, they don't need to get married. A sannyasi or a renounced order should be at least situated in goodness. If not, you need to have an inspiration, an external source of inspiration. To decide behind every successful man there is a hand of a woman. That's the definition in mode of passion. In mode of goodness, you don't need the hand of a woman. In a mode of goodness, you will need shastras, you will need austerities. Therefore, you might have heard from me many times, I would have said, as the devotees, we need to learn to find our contentment and satisfaction in the services that we do. In other words, we have to make our services as our life and soul. That's mode of goodness. That's where determination, that's where satisfaction arises. Otherwise, not possible. You can't do it. And this is a way to rise up to mode of goodness also. So a Brahmana can stay without any external impulse or need for glorification, and doesn't look for puja la pratishtha. They can go walk into the forest, etc. Okay, I hope this is making some sense here. Again, this is our discussion from the men are for Mars, women are for Venus. We have discussed all the psychology that time. Text number 44. Rishi Goraksha Vanityam Vaishyakarma Svabhavajam Parichatmakam Karma Shudrasyapi Svabhavajam. Farming, cow protection, business or natural work for the Vaishya, and for the Shudra, there are labor and service to others. So Vaishya is passion, ignorance, and Shudra is ignorance. Swabhavajam. So Guna Karma Vibhagashaha, not according to birth. Guna Karma Vibhaga. So what kind of modes you have cultivated? And of course, the modes you have cultivated has to do with your past life also. And plus, what have we been, kind of exposed to? Accordingly, the modes you have cultivated, then you get classified as Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, like that. And how it would be identified? This was the duty of the teacher, Gurukul. It was the teacher of Guru to identify in which ashram or varna, the boy lies in, like that. Text number 45. I mean, this is subject matter. Now we can talk about what is ashram, what is the varna for ladies, how ladies varna was identified, if the varna was sent to Gurukul, etc. etc. It's a subject matter, so we're not going to detail, but little some clues here for you. Anyways, text number 45 now. Save save karmane bhirataha samsiddham labate naraha swakamanarata siddham yatha vindanti tashrunu. By following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now, please hear from me how this can be done. All right. Before, let me ask all of you a question. All of you switch on your camera, those are online. So let's see you all are there. And I'm going to make a question to all of you here and to all of you here. So, which Varna is best for you? Which Varna is best for you? Okay. Raise your hand if you think Brahman Varna is best for you. भाई इतना क्यों हाथ उठाओ? पूरा उठाओ ना से कॉन्फिडेंटली. पूरा हाथ उठाओ. ठीक है. वहाँ चेंज हो गया. अच्छा नीचे बदल दिया सोच. Okay, online also fine. Okay, what else? Who thinks Kshatriya Varna is best? Who thinks Vaishya Varna is best? Who thinks Shudra Varna is best? What? No Varna? बाकी का क्या सोचें? ये अभी subject matter का depth नहीं है. Okay, fine. So Srila Prabhupada writes in Bhagavatam, the best Varna for a devotee is Shudra Varna. Why? Because at our Shudra level of consciousness, we want to become Brahmana. So every Shudra thinks he's a Brahman in Kali Yuga. But Shudra means to follow. And we need to become a follower. Not the Shudra of the Kali Yuga Shudra. Ignorant. Not like that. The Shudra is identified their quality, that is their ability to follow. Brahmana would never follow. Brahmana is independently thoughtful. Kshatriya, ego. Vaishya, जहाँ पैसा दिखेगा follow करेगा. Wherever he sees his interest, he'll follow. But Shudra, interest, no interest? Yes, sir. So I did raise this question because we have, despite studying for all this while, we have a major misunderstanding about this word. We all want to think Brahmana is a high class, so I want to become Brahmana. I am a Brahmana only. Casteism has not yet gone away from our consciousness. We continue to linger with that. All right, hopefully gives you some water. Text number 46. How to purify oneself. Yatha pravattarabhutanam yena sarvam idam tatam swakarmana tamabharyarcha siddhim vindati manava. By worship of the Lord, by worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and is all pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. See, it doesn't matter you're Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. What you have to do, previous verse says, every man can become perfect. Means every varna can become perfect. What you have to do in every varna, whichever varna you are or ashram you are, accept to the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. But our local audience sound will be audible? We can try. All right. Prashant, you're sitting close by. Read.
Purport. As is stated in 15th chapter, all living beings are fragmental parts and parcel of Supreme Lord.
Audible for online audience? Give me a thumbs up. Is it audible? No. अरे अंगूठा दिखाओ अगर audible है तो. That's what I'm asking. Am I audible to them? Okay. समझ गए बच्चों. चलो.
Thus the Supreme Lord is the beginning of all living entities. This is confirmed in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadhyasya Yata. The Supreme Lord is therefore the beginning of life of every living entity. And as is stated in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord, by his two energies, his external energy and internal energy, is all pervading. Therefore, one should worship the Supreme Lord with his energies. Generally, the Vaishnava devotees worship the Supreme Lord with his internal energy. His external energy is a perverted reflection of the internal energy. The external energy is the background, but the Supreme Lord, by the expansion of his plenary portion as Paramatma, is situated everywhere. He is the supersoul of all demigods, all human beings, all animals, everywhere. One should therefore know that as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, one has his duty to render service unto the Supreme. Everyone should be engaged in devotional service to the Lord in full Krishna consciousness. That is recommended in this verse. Everyone should think that he is engaged in a particular type of occupation by Rishikesha, the master of the senses, and by the result of the work in which one is engaged, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, should be worshipped. If one thinks always in this way, in full Krishna consciousness, then by the grace of the Lord, he becomes fully aware of everything. That is the perfection of life. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 12.7, Tesham aham samudharta. The Supreme Lord himself takes charge of delivering such a devotee. That is the highest perfection of life. In whatever occupation one may be engaged, if he serves the Supreme Lord, he will achieve the highest perfection.
Now you can imagine what a perfect balance of the society would be when, according to their guna karma, according to their guna, they will take on to the karma. All of us have this awareness that we do have some likings. And imagine if that liking becomes your profession. Would you be self-inspired? Yes or no? Quickly. Yes or no? That's the whole point. Now, money is not an inspiration then. Wherever money is an inspiration, that is called Shudra life. Wherever money is an inspiration, that is called Shudra life. No. Vaishya is barter system. That is not that. Shudra depends on income. Vaishya is barter. Vaishya makes there was no culture of currency. Now, Vaishya depends on employer. Shudra depends on employer. So, okay, let me clarify Vaishya and Shudra. Vaishya means who does business. Now, his means is earning money, making profit, and all that. But the Shudra consciousness is wherever there is money, that becomes my master. So, like that, Shudra would change wherever I can get opportunity for my sense purification. So if you are employed, if you're getting money, then it is Shudra. But Vaishyas are not employed. Vaishya runs the business. They make the money. They generate the money. They run the economy like that. They were the one who paid taxes to the Kshatriyas like that. Anyways, so what is the point I was saying? So now imagine everyone functions. Now, if somebody has become a doctor because he has a genuine interest in it. So now, when he likes doing that, which means it's governed by some kind of compassion, then there is a lot of trust in the society. You can just walk up to a doctor, you know that he's not after my money, isn't it? But when the Shudras become doctors, then their goal is how to exploit more and more money from you. So that's a whole problem with the today's society. This whole thing has gone away. And now, text number 47, Krishna speaks on this. It is far better to engage in one's own occupation. Shreya sadharma vigunaha paradharma sanusthita swabhavaniyatam karma kurvannapnoti kilbisham. It is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions. So now, if you look at the recent history with Srila Prabhupada told everyone join ashram and stuff. Prabhupada had brahmacharini ashram. And then those who could not be part of that, Prabhupada said, okay, become a grahastha, brahmacharini like that. Now you may say, Prabhu, they were all from all Shudra, or not even Shudra, they were from Malaysian Yavana background. They didn't belong to Varnashrama. Why Prabhupada tried to engage them in Brahminical responsibility, deity worship, etc., etc. So that is called as Apadharma. Now that Apadharma continues to some extent today also, in the sense we don't know what our modes are predominant. We are so much covered over by Ajnanata in general. We don't know what is predominant modes within us. So to follow this today is very difficult. Therefore, Prabhupada in Bhagavatam glorifies Shudra Varna for that reason. At least Shudra has one good quality. He can follow. And if in case that's what by default we are born in Kali Yuga, we can make a progress. If at least we can have this quality and cultivate this quality. Learn to follow. And not artificially, try to make choices independently, etc. So it is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly. So somebody may ask, well, I don't know what my occupation. But that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, whatever you do, chant Hare Krishna, that will bring you perfection. There's no time to now fix one's varna and ashrama. What will you do after the age of 24, 25, like that, when things are already so much covered over? A child from beginning was trained up accordingly. And then over a period of time, he would realize and then he would live accordingly. Therefore, Lord Shri Krishna was instructing Arjuna not to give up his Kshatriya duties and go to the forest, live like a Brahmana. Arjuna, you cannot do that. You, because circumstantially think that you will change your Varna, but you are, Swabhavajam, this is your nature. You would be forced to act like that. So, in today's context, if we need to look at these verses, make the best use of bad bargain. Wherever you see whatever possibility is there, do that. As long as we can be Krishna conscious. Diving deep into the subject matters and really trying to figure out what's my varna and all that, for majority of us will be complicated. It can get fixed up maybe after a decade or so of devotional practice. Some clarity may happen. By the time you'll be 35, 40 something, what will you change your varna then? It's late. The duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions. Purport: how to work. One's occupational duty is prescribed in Bhagavad Gita. As already discussed in previous verses, the duties of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra is prescribed according to the particular mode. A man who is by nature attracted to the kind of work done by Shudras should not artificially claim to be a Brahmana, although he may have been born into a Brahmana family. In this way, one should work according to his own nature. No work is abominable. Casteism, this whole idea of casteism, higher status, lower status, destroyed our community. I like this point. No work is abominable. When I went to the West, now, how can you imagine any one of you while studying in engineering college, you're working in a restaurant and cleaning tables and floors there? Anyone if you can imagine that? Or think even if you take up a job like this to make some petty cash, would your parents ever acknowledge that, accept that? My child studying, doing engineering, and everyone do any job. They've gone to another extreme of it nonetheless. But any job, okay, it's pretty interesting. And I saw that there was nothing like that. You are a waitress, you are a waiter, you are a floor cleaner, so you would be looked down upon. Nothing like that. Nothing like that. You know, so interesting. I mean, there is some nuances of it available. I'm just saying this is something which is remaining with the culture. If performed in the service of the Supreme Lord, the occupational duty of a Brahmana is certainly the mode of goodness, but if a person not by nature in the mode of goodness, he should not imitate the occupational duty of a Brahmana. Which means, similarly, in a devotional life, each one of us can have particular abilities and likings. It's very important to be a little bit self observant, understand what's my capacity, and try to engage in devotional service that way. Not that because somebody is sitting on Vyasasana giving big lectures, he gets all the applause and says, Prabhuji, you're so good, so good, so good. It means it is also meant for me. Everything is equal in the eyes of the Lord. Now, imagine if somebody, now accepting praise is also not easy. One of the things which are most difficult to digest is praise. And of course, more difficult than praise to digest is criticism. So wherever you are praised the most you are criticized also there. Yes or no? Who is dragged down the most? The leader. So it is not an easy job. It's not an easy job. So if to have that idea, oh, why he only get to speak, I can also speak, and you have no ability to speak, but you want to try to do that. What's the point of it? You'll be dissatisfied. Yes or no? You're trying to prove something to someone, but that's not your quality. That's not your ability. What do you think end result will be? You'll be frustrated. So it's good if we can understand. Somebody could be good in dealing with people one on one. Somebody could be good in dealing with masses. Somebody could be good in just doing some simple menial services. Somebody could be good in handling all the headache. Let everyone do their task. And for us to allow everyone to do their task, we have to do our task first, which means I need to know what I can do. Not that, oh, I have to become a mridanga player. No, I have to become a singer. और गधे की तरह रैंकते रहो, कुछ भी करो. वो जबरदस्ती है कोई यार. नहीं मुझे सिंगर बना. भाई तेरे में नहीं है सिंगर बनने की एबिलिटी. I mean, is there a scarcity of service? नहीं मुझे यही करना है, मुझे वही करना है. It becomes a nuisance. Why? Because somewhere we are attached to some kind of identity we want to create. I want to be known as such person. I have decided for it, and this is what I'm going to work for it to become like. It actually becomes a very frustrating experience. If you have been in that shoes or have ever experienced, you'll see. I mean, how comfortable it is, how peaceful devotional life becomes, or life becomes, if I can just be what I am. And I'm accepted, I'm loved by devotees for what I am, rather than trying to become something what I am not. And I'm trying to become something what I'm not. How much complaints, criticism, everything comes. And we feel, प्रभु जी आप हमें डिमोरलाइज कर रहे हैं. मैंने इतना बुरा भी नहीं गाया. मैं कहा गधा भी शर्मा जाता तेरे को देख के. और क्या चाहिए? कोई जरूरी है. That's not needed for it. So anyway, that's part of a purification. We all go through the stages. We want to become somebody or something. All right. In this way, one should work according to his own nature. No work is abominable if performed in service of Supreme Lord. The occupational duty of a Brahmana is certainly in the mode of goodness. But if a person is not by nature in goodness, he should not imitate the responsibility of Brahmana. For a Kshatriya or administrator, there are so many abominable things. A Kshatriya has to be violent to kill his enemies. Sometimes a Kshatriya has to tell lies for the sake of diplomacy. Such violence and duplicity accompany political affairs, but a Kshatriya is not supposed to give up his occupational duty and try to perform the duties of Brahmana. जो भी बोलूंगा सच बोलूंगा. फॉरेन मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडिया, क्या आपने हमारे यहाँ स्पाई भेजे? नहीं. क्या आपने हमारे, हाँ हमने आपके स्पाई भेजे. मतलब है you have to be diplomatic. You're getting it? That's what it means to be a Kshatriya, has to lie. One should act to satisfy the Supreme Lord. For example, Arjuna was a Kshatriya. He was hesitating to fight the other party. But if such fighting is performed for the sake of Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, there need be no fear of degradation. In the business field also, sometimes a merchant has to tell so many lies to make a profit. If he does not do so, there can be no profit. So आप लोग बोलते हैं सच सच बोलो, कितने का कपड़ा लेकर आए हो. अगर वो ब्राह्मण की तरह सच बोलते हैं, हाँ भाई साहब ये 10 रुपए का लेकर आए हैं, तो प्रॉफिट कमाएगा वो. Yeah, I mean, a brahmana cannot run a business. You know, before the business starts, he'll become, beggar. लुट जाएगा. उसके बच्चे को जो धोती कुर्ते भी उधर जाएंगे. Something like that would happen. So now you see how everything is designed for different categories of people. Sometimes a merchant says, "Oh my dear customer, for you I'm making no profit." कुछ भी प्रॉफिट नहीं कमा रहे हम आपके लिए, सिर्फ आपके लिए. Prabhupada writes, but one should know that without profit the merchant cannot exist. Therefore, it should be taken as a simple lie if a merchant says that he is not making a profit. I don't know, but I remember when I was growing up, when I was in college, there was one company who had some 75% discount or 85% discount on clothes. So I remember visiting, that time my parents were living in Indore. So I was visiting from Vellore University, and it was a summer break. And it was written summer bonanza 75% off. मैंने कहा पापा कपड़े तो यहीं से लेंगे. 75% ऑफ. 75% ऑफ के बाद भी करीबन उसकी जीन्स उस समय 1,000 रुपये की थी, और लिखा हुआ था कैसे 5,000 की जीन्स है, कितनी सस्ते में मिल रही है. मेरे फादर से बेटा दिस नो यूज. मैं कहा नहीं नहीं पापा, समझ नहीं रहे हो, सस्ता है, ब्रांडेड है. और ब्रांडेड नहीं था, लोकल कंपनी थी. एनीवेज लेटर गॉट टू नो. देन आई केम समवेयर अराउंड दिसंबर. देन दिसंबर बोनांजा 75% ऑफ. मैं कहा क्या यार, समर दिसंबर बोनांजा, ये साल भर का बोनांजा चलाते तो प्रॉफिट कब कमाते हैं. देन आई केम समवेयर इन द मिडल ऑफ ईयर, लाइक मार्च करके. जब मार्च में आया तभी लिखा हुआ था सम बोनांजा. देन माय फादर टोल्ड मी दिस rascals all year they have some bonanza going on. And they are always saying 75% off. Now my mother comes from a business family, so she used to tell me, when the merchant says it is 75% off, 80% off, be assured that he has doubled the prices, and on that he's giving you 80%, wherein he's making now 40% profit. If you get a simple calculation, nobody would be at loss. I was saying, without profit, the merchant cannot exist. But the merchant should not think that because he's engaged in occupation which telling of lies is compulsory, he should give his profession and pursue the profession of a brahmana. So, if somebody really abhors, dislike lies, then you're not meant for Kshatriya and Vaishya profession. Simple. I mean, if I tell you why I got disgusted, although I had a dream job, I mean, I'm not a speaker as such. I'm a pretty damn shy guy. Now, I had to go and speak to people. I was representing the business unit. I was a scientist there. So I remember traveling different parts of the world, in fact, coming to India. I had a meeting with the head of Jio, Airtel, ASL. That time it used to be ASL. They had an office in Gurgaon and Bombay. So all the chiefs and the heads of people are sitting there, and I have to give a presentation to them how our solution is essential for the smartphone industry. And I'm doing a plain lie, simple lie. Right in front of their eyes, I fooled them. It's like a little magic trick. Right in front of their eyes, I fooled them. बातों बातों में ही मैंने उनका ही मोबाइल उनके द्वारा हैक करा दिया. हैक कराने के बाद मैंने उनको दिखाया, देखो तुम्हारा मोबाइल हैक हो गया. And what was the hacking thing was, let's say I call one of you, let's say I call Prashant Prabhu, let's say Saurabh calls Prashant Prabhu, and I am the one who has hacked the device of Prashant Prabhu. The moment he'll get a call, I will get a call, and I can hear every conversation Prashant Prabhu is having. And लोगों ने हाँ मोबाइल फोन कॉल ये सब करके. And it was a pure lie. There was no malware existing. I only created it. बातों बातों में उनको एक अपग्रेडेशन के नाम पे करके इंस्टॉल करवा दिया. And then after showing all that, I said, now you install our antivirus solution. Then they install antivirus. I said, no, Saurabh, call Prashant. No, Saurabh called Prashant. Now I acting as a hacker, did not got a call. So I said, see, hence proven. Our solution can protect your integrity of your information. Like this, I had to go and tell lie. I was like, this is sick. I mean, I'm just fooling people. I was supposed to do research. Okay, research karo. Ab research karne ke baad jaake I have to give presentation and I have to hack. I said, I'm quitting. It's not meant for me. So the whole business was all about lie. All about lie. Just cheating. So Vedavan is Kshatriya. Where was he? Okay, that is not recommended. Vedavan is Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, doesn't matter. If he serves by his work, the Supreme Person regarded. Even Brahmanas perform different types of sacrifice. Sometimes must kill animals because sometimes animals are sacrificed in such ceremonies. Similarly, if a Kshatriya engaged in non-occupation kills an enemy, there is no sin incurred. In the third chapter, these matters have been clearly and elaborately explained. Every man should work for the purpose of yajna or for Vishnu. Anything done for personal sense gratification is a cause of bondage. The conclusion is that everyone should be engaged according to the particular mode of nature he has acquired, and he should decide to work only to serve the supreme cause of the Supreme Lord. Text number 48. Sahajam karma kaunteya sadosham api na tayajat sarvarambha hi doshena dhumena vrataha. Every endeavor is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore, one should not give up the work born of his nature. O son of Kunti, even such work is full of fault. Fantastic example. Just like a fire is covered by smoke. In other words, in material world, nothing can exist on a pure level. Everything has some fault. So every endeavor is covered by some fault. Whatever you do, there will be some fault. I guess in mechanical machine, if anyone mechanical engineering, they'll know that there is some kind of what they call error, fault. This much is allowed. This much degree, something they call it. Fault tolerance they call it. This much, which means it is expected there gonna be fault, but this much is allowed. Beyond that, it will be called a defective, isn't it? Like that. Now imagine how much we should have that fault tolerance in our relationship with each other. While designing machines, we can make machines to have a system where fault tolerance is there. Now, how much fault tolerance we should have? The most defective machines are Kali Jivatmas, isn't it? Yeah, we need to have a far greater tolerance towards the faults. Okay, Papa. In conditioned life, all work is contaminated by the material modes of nature. Even if one is Brahman, has to perform sacrifice in which animal killing is necessary. Similarly, Kshatriya, however he is pious, has to fight enemies. He cannot avoid it. Similarly, merchant, our pious maybe sometimes has to hide profit to stay in business. So he may sometimes have to do business on the black market. These things are necessary, one cannot avoid them. Similarly, even though a man is accused of serving a bad master, he has to carry out the order of the master, even though it should not be done. Despite these flaws, one should continue to carry out his prescribed duties, for they are born out of his own nature. Therefore, it was said, the Kshatriya, if they die fighting in the battle, they go to heaven. You get the point? If one performs his prescribed duty, he will attain success. At least the pious results will come because he has performed. But we're saying, even though a man is a Shudra serving a bad master, he has to carry out the order of the master, even though it should not be done, which means it is good for him. It is good for him. Interesting. Despite these flaws, one should continue to carry out his prescribed duties, for they are born out of his own nature. A very nice example is given here. And although fire is pure, still there is smoke. Yet smoke does not make the fire impure. Even though there is smoke in the fire, fire is still considered to be the purest of all elements. If one prefers to give up the work of a Kshatriya and take up the occupation of Brahmana, he is not assured in the occupation of Brahmana there are no unpleasant duties. One may then conclude that in the material world no one can be completely free from the contaminations of material nature. The example of fire and smoke is very appropriate in this connection. When in winter time one takes a stone from the fire, sometimes smoke disturbs the eyes and other parts, but still one must make use of the fire despite disturbing conditions. Similarly, one should not give up his natural occupation because there are some disturbing elements. Rather, one should be determined to serve the Supreme Lord by his occupational duty in Krishna consciousness. That is the perfectional point. When a particular type of occupation is performed for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, all the defects in that particular occupation are purified. When the results of work are purified, when connected with the devotion service, one becomes perfect in seeing the self within, and that is self-realization. Yesterday, I was having a meeting with our developer team who's going to mostly take a project to build a temple here and also this community. So we were having discussion in the terms of MOUs and etc. What would be the draft of our understanding to work with each other? So once our meeting ended and everything, then I was talking to our architect lady. So it's like, how do you think meeting went and all that? So she said, Prabhuji, whatever it is, everything starts on a good note. But be assured, somewhere down the line there will be some fault line. वो होता ही है, बिल्डर के संग होता ही है. मैंने कहा या आई मीन इट्स अनअवॉइडेबल, कहीं ना कहीं थोड़ा बहुत सा तो, बिकॉज अल्टीमेटली दे हैव टू मेक प्रॉफिट, समवेयर दे विल कट, इधर उधर कुछ ना कुछ करेंगे. तो कहीं ना कहीं इफ यू आर ओपन टू सर्टेन अमाउंट ऑफ फॉल्ट लाइन, देन इट्स ऑल गुड. बट इफ बिकम परफेक्शनिस्ट, नहीं ऐसा ही होना है, no collaboration will work. And these verses are very very relevant for that. Last point says, even if there are defects, but if it is done, even there are inconveniences, even if it is, but if it is done as a service to Supreme Lord, then your all efforts and struggles are success. So I'm just preparing our team for the challenges when will come in building a project. धूप में जाके खड़े होकर टोपी लगा के कंस्ट्रक्शन हो रही है, ब्रिक पे ब्रिक रखी जा रही है. सो ये परपट याद रखना, कितना ही इनकन्वीनियंस क्यों ना हो, बट ब्रह्मचारी लाइफ इज सक्सेस बिकॉज दैट्स मेंट फॉर प्लीजिंग कृष्णा. टेक्स्ट नंबर 49. असक्त बुद्धि सर्वत्र जितात्मा विगत स्पृहा नैष्कर्म्य सिद्धिं परमां संन्यसानाधिगच्छति. One is self-control, unattached, and who disregards all material enjoyment, can obtain by practice renunciation the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction. Wow. Puppet. All right. Mother Medavani, start reading the puppet, please. बोलो बोलो, आप बोलना शुरू करो.
Real renunciation means that one should always think himself, therefore, right. Since he's found results of this is actually Krishna consciousness. Person Krishna consciousness, really a sannyasi, by being satisfied, actually supreme. Taking pleasure, anything beyond a sannyasi is free from person who is in Krishna consciousness, practically attaining and accepting the so state of mind is called chapter. Yeah, satisfied self, any kind of action.
सिद्धिं प्राप्त यथा ब्रह्म तथाप्नोति निबोध मे समासेनेव कौन्तेया निष्ठज्ञासस्य या परा. O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain to the supreme perfectional stage, Brahman, the stage of highest knowledge, by acting in the way I shall now summarize. Puppet. The Lord describes for Arjuna how one can achieve the highest perfectional stage simply by being engaged in his occupational duty, performing that duty for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One attains the supreme stage of Brahman simply by renouncing the results of his work for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Perfect, huh? Mark this line. One attains the supreme stage of Brahman simply by renouncing the results of his work for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. That is a process of self-realization. Therefore, the renounce order makes it very easy and smooth. Because whatever you do, it doesn't belong to you. The result belongs to Guru and Ashram. Like that. I mean, the system designed such a way you cannot keep it into your pocket. You cannot put your name, so and so temple belongs to me. It belongs to Radha Krishna only. It belongs to ISKCON, it belongs to Srila Prabhupada. But you buy a 2 BHK house, so and so Agarwal ji, Gupta ji, Pinky Tinky naam lag jate hain, right? So, I mean, I'm saying the renounce order has an inherent system where you cannot claim results are yours. You're forced towards perfection. And that's the point here. Once again, one attains the supreme stage of Brahman simply by renouncing the results of his work for satisfaction of the Lord. That is the process of self-realization. The actual perfection of knowledge is in attaining pure Krishna consciousness. That is described in the following verses. So 51 and 53 will talk about, it will summarize up to 54 verse about the duty, how duty should be performed. And then comes the last concluding point where Krishna speaks about his devotees, what should be done, like that. We'll take a look at it. Today is Thursday, if I'm correct. So tomorrow is Friday. Tomorrow will be a Bhagavatam class. So we'll not have reading tomorrow. And Saturday I'm not available. Sunday is off, which means we'll begin our discussion directly on Monday. So 51 to 78 verses, that makes somewhere around 28 verses. And right now we are kind of currently finishing around, let's say, 7-8 verses, which means by mid of next week, not mid of next week, by Thursday, we'll be able to come to the completion of the reading of Bhagavad Gita, like that. Or maybe by Friday, we'll be able to come to the completion. And then after that, we'll have a revised schedule. And the next book we're going to take is Teaching of Lord Chaitanya. The class timings would remain same, but the days would not be same. We'll only have 3 days or 4 days in a week because I have to now start engaging in other programs also. So like that, we'll announce. So once I complete this, I'll fulfill my commitment with this. After this, we'll take a next book with a different schedule. With that, thank you everyone for joining us today morning. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki